Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. And it's a very cold, frosty morning here in the UK. There is still some frost on the roof. It's about 2 or 3 degrees now. It's been -2 overnight. So I'm just waiting for the workshop to warm up before I go in there and do some more work. But in the meantime, I thought it would be nice to do a review and walk around and start up with my Honda CB400T Dream. If you've been watching the channel, you will know that I've worked on this bike quite a bit. I've had some electrical issues with this. Had to replace the stator, but it's now up and running. This bike I sort of intend to use as my daily rider, if you like. It's I don't actually ride a bike every day, but if I intend to go out in this sort of weather or when the roads are damp, I'm likely to take this because this has not had any kind of full restoration. This is a bit of a survivor, this one. So I like to try and keep it clean, but at the same time I quite like the patina that it's got. So this particular model, the CB400T Dream, or Hawk as it was known in the United States, was only available in the UK for around about 6 months. It was sold for 6 months or so during 1977, and it's really the successor to the twin-cylinder CB360, but also when it was also launched as a successor to the CB400-4 as well. Most of the division of the press at the time who thought that a twin could never overtake the position of a 4-cylinder bike, but that's what it was marketed as. And actually, after the reviews, although they were initially skeptical of it, they did state that it was a worthwhile successor to the 400-4. So this has got an overhead camshaft, 395cc engine, air-cooled parallel twin. It was completely redesigned from the ground up at the time. Differs from its rivals in that, or rival 400s, in that it had a 360-degree crank rather than 180 degree. So rather than each cylinder going up and down opposite each other, they were actually going up and down at the same time. Problem with that is it introduces vibration, so therefore they had to include counter-rotating balance shafts to get rid of any unwanted vibrations. They also fitted capacitor discharge ignition to these bikes instead of points, which were although at the time should have been more reliable, in fact proved not to be particularly reliable as time went on. But it was early days for those sorts of things, and those sorts of problems got ironed out in the end. Fueling, it's got twin K carburetors, and the engine is basically part of the stressed frame to try and keep the ground clearance good and also improve handling. So as I say, in the British market, it was introduced in 1977, alloy and steel Comstar wheels, which are now we're all familiar with. Braking, single hydraulic brake on the front, and on the rear a basic drum brake. There was also a 250cc version of this bike available in the UK, and that was to comply with the learner laws that we had at the time, where a learner could only ride up to a 250cc bike before they passed their test. This bike was succeeded after 6 months by the 250N and the 400N Super Dream. I have to say I much prefer the design of this and the lines of it. I just think it's a much more characterful bike than the sanitised 400 and 250 Super Dream that came after it. They were very of their time, those bikes, as this one was. My personal preference is for this styling. So the United States story is slightly different, in as much as there were various derivatives of this. So they had in the US the Hawk 1, which was, if you like, the budget lineup, the budget model of this. It was kickstart only, and it only had a speedometer. Slightly larger capacity fuel tank as well, but actually it was actually lighter than the Hawk 2. The Hawk 2 was classed as the sport model, and that was more of a similar spec to this UK Dream. Had the single front disc, aluminium wheels. Also included tachometer and electric start as well. And of course then there was the Honda Matic, the Hawk CB400T Honda Matic, which was a 2-speed semi-automatic transmission with a torque converter, 2 forward gears, but they had to be manually selected by the rider. There's a gear position indicator instead of the tachometer on the instruments, and a parking brake replaced the clutch lever. In 1980, Honda then went on to offer just the single model, which was designated as the Hawk and simply called the CB400T. Then they brought out the CM400E, which really took over the role of the cheaper Hawk, the initial Hawk 1. And it had similar European styling, a 6-speed manual gearbox, and the pegs, footrest, gear lever in the same position as the early Hawk variants though. And at that point it became electric start only. Smaller 30mm cane CV carburetors were fitted with an accelerator pump, and that was all to do to comply with US emission controls. So once the production of this particular bike had finished, the Super Dream then went on and was for sale for 8 years, but the engine and that chassis went on in various other models until the early 1990s, ending with the CB400DX, which was in production from 1989 to 1992. And then the Hawk and the CM range continued as the 450 Hawk, then the 450 SC Nighthawk, and ultimately the CM 450 models as well. Okay, let's see if we can get this started. I say it's minus, that's not -2, it's about 2 degrees here at the moment, something like that. This bike hasn't been started up for about 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. But we'll give it a go and see how she sounds. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next video.